How do you sort out the so-called jargon from real-world practices that work? Do the members of your organization find some business or technology advice utterly confusing? Welcome to Real Talk with Sam Holcman. In this program, we set the record straight, and in terms that business people and technology people can understand. Now, here is your host, Sam Holcman.
Welcome to this edition of Real Talk. I'm Sam Holcman. Thanks for joining me today. And our topic today is Google and Google search. There's an article that is floating around. It's called The Tragedy of Google Search. This is one of many articles talking about some of the cases, legal cases that have been filed against Google for its dominant position in Google search. I have a very simple recommendation for the executives at Google, if they are listening, and if they aren't, I understand, but maybe someone can give them a hint here. Google is not a search engine. It is a marketplace, and maybe they should just change the name to Google Marketplace, and then hopefully fund what is required to actually have a search engine. Some of you have been following me for quite some time, years, may be familiar with a podcast that I did some time ago called In Search of a Search Engine. And this was not a joke. What we did there is examined what search engines actually are and the possibilities of what will come next in the future of search versus what we were seeing at that particular time. And what I did was we drew on history for some ideas. Are there issues that we're seeing now because of bias, privacy, censorship, speed, or accuracy? Well, of course, accuracy. Can you imagine what this is going to look like with all of this AI stuff going on? Or is the real issue money? The shorter answer is it's all of these are there. So let's think about library and library science was my emphasis on that podcast, and I'm going to repeat some of that here. What makes libraries work? Think about this if you remember the good old days of walking into a physical library. There's three things. Number one is the Dewey Decimal System, a neutral classification system where, if I can use the phrase, stuff is stored. It doesn't matter if you're on page one of the Google search engine, which is really what is driving Google and its revenues. And of course, we use Google in our company, and we try to get on page one of Google also. It's all about being on that first page versus a library that is a search engine for information that is neutral. And the thing that makes it neutral, number one, is the Dewey Decimal System, a classification system that doesn't care where you are in your optimization of SEO or pay-per-click, search engine optimization or pay-per-click. The second thing is the consistency of the information in a library. It's sometimes referred to as a long-tail search, meaning that if you walk into a library today and looking for let's say a book, there may be other books that appear 2 weeks, 6 months later, but you can still see that same book, long-tail search. We all know in Google, and of course Bing and others, I'm not just counting Bing as the only one by any means, you don't have that same consistent set of understandings coming back, which means that it is not a true search engine. It's a popularity contest engine, and very much so, and it's great. It's great. And the third thing that makes the library work is the actual librarian. Now, if we can give you an analogy here, the librarian is the one that determines, with some assistance, where that book, in quotes, goes. It's not random. It's not based on some fake AI or otherwise optimization algorithm. The librarian looks at that particular book and says, this is the Dewey Decimal System location for that particular publication. So maybe that'll solve the problem, not only for Google, but also for Bing, and also talk about a great opportunity for somebody. And of course, Google has the resources, Bing has the resources, and others have resources to be able to really add to what is going on there. What we have to recognize about I'll use the phrase real search, is it's a little bit more difficult to make money. But I think we can find ways to do that. So in summary, Google, let's call you what you are, and you're great at it. Bing, let's call you what you are, and you're great at it. A shopping mall and a source of information, but not a search engine, because you don't have the fundamentals of that search engine that makes it for the consumer, the stakeholder, an actual search engine that we, as consumers, can have a lot of confidence in. I hope somebody's listening. There's great opportunities out there. Thanks again.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. Be sure to join your host, Sam Holcman, again for another edition of our program. We'll have more real topics of discussion then.